What is up, Guardians? I hope you're all well. Today I bring you a quick guide to this week's Grandmaster Nightfall. So for this week's Nightfall we have the Scarlet Keep with the modifiers Fire Pit, Chaff, Grandmaster modifiers, Match Game, Equipment Locked, Extinguish, Limited Revives, Solar and Arc Shields and Acute Burn. Our champions we have to deal with are Barrier Knights and Unstoppable Ogres, and we of course have the additional champions modifier. I'll be honest, this was our first time attempting this strike as a Grandmaster, and it was one of my teammates' first attempt and completion ever of a Grandmaster. Taking that into consideration, it was surprisingly simple. The strike has many areas to hide, loads of cover, and different levels at almost every point. If you struggle on the Grandmaster, it will more than likely be the boss room. My advice would be sit back, take your time, you have no reason to rush. So work together, move slowly, and watch your health. If you struggle, retreat, find a different angle, and always try and go for the high ground. There's a few little tips I have for different parts, but before we get into that, here's the equipment me and my team were using. So here's my loadout that I was using. I was a Sentinel Shield Titan running suppressor grenades. My aspects were Bastion and Controlled Demolition to apply volatile and generate overshields. As for my fragments, I used Echo of Leeching to help health regen, Echo of Expulsion to assist Controlled Demolition, and Echo of Obscurity to allow me to go invis when doing finishers. Moving on to my weapons. For my primary I used Arbalest. Not only does it have Disruption Break, which is an amazing mod, but it also gains Genesis with the Catalyst. It's an amazing gun for one-shotting any shield type, and I would recommend every team having at least one of these. Moving on to my secondary, I used the new Raid Pulse Insidious. I use this to deal with Unstoppable Stun and Arc Shields. I also have Turnabout, so it helps me get over shields too. For my heavy, I use the Hot-Headed Depth to get the most out of Arc Burn, to again deal with Arc Shields, as when it comes to solo I can one-shot them with Arbalest anyways. On my helmet, I use Double Ashes to Assets and Melee Wellmaker to get Void Wells down for my team. As for my gauntlets, I use the Titan's Rampart Exotic to allow me and allies to shoot through my barricade. My mods were Bolster and Detonation, Overload Rounds, and Protective Lights. As for my chestplate, I used one single Void Resist and the Thermoshock plating so that I had one resist of every type, as well as Reaping Wellmaker to again produce more Void Wells. On my boots, I used Better Already for health regen on orb pickup if any teammates were producing them, and Insulation for class ability energy. I also used Shield Crash Wellmaker to produce Arc Wells and a single rocket launcher scavenger mod. Finally, on my mark, I used Lucent Finisher for heavy ammo generation and taking charge. So moving on to my allies, my first teammate was a Mobius Quiver Hunter using Vortex Grenades. The two aspects he used were Stylist Executioner and Vanishing Step. As for his fragments, he used Echo of Instability for a stat increase, Echo of Starvation for Devour, Echo of Domineering for a stat increase, and finally Echo of Persistence to make Invis and Devour last longer. As for his primary, he used the Pardon Our Dust with Blinding Grenades and Auto Loading to help blind enemies. For his secondary, another Insidious Pulse Rifle to deal with Arc Shields, stun Unstoppables and use as his main overall weapon. Finally for heavy, he used the Galahorn to give us all Wolfpack rounds and of course deal with Solar Shields. Moving on to his gear, his helmet has Harmonic Siphon and Kinetic Siphon to generate orbs, and Reaping Wellmaker to produce wells. On his gauntlets, we of course have Unstoppable Pulse, and then Bolstering Detonation and Volatile Flow. For his chest armour, we have two Thermoshock platings to deal with the Arc Resist, and Elemental Armaments. And for his boots, we have the exotic Orpheus Rig with Perpetuation and Font of Might to increase Void Weapon damage. Now you may notice some mods don't add up here, like the Font of Might and Volatile Rounds. That's because he planned on using a Void secondary, but we were in a rush and he quickly swapped to Arc for shields and forgot to change a few mods. So what I would do is change Font of Might to Elemental Charge, and change Volatile Flow to Protective Light. For my last fire team member, we have a Void Walker Warlock. So yes, a lot of Void. He's using Cataclysm with Scatter Grenades, with Feed in the Void and Child of the Old Gods as his aspects. As for his fragments, we have Echo of Expulsion, Echo of Undermining, Echo of Instability, and finally Echo of Starvation. Moving on to weapons, he was using the Syncopation for Unstoppables, the Trinity Ghoul for Arc Shields, Barrier Stun and Ad Clear, and Ascendancy for Solar Shields. On his helmet, we have double rocket launcher ammo finders and Well of Utility to generate class ability energy when picking up Void Wells. For his gauntlets, we have Ophidian Aspect with Anti-Barrier Bow, Unstoppable Pulse, and finally High Energy Fire. Next for his chest armor, we have a Thermoshock Plating and a Rocket Launcher Reserve, also taking charge to make him charge with light when picking up orbs. On his boots, we have Better Already, Rocket Launcher Scavenger, and Volatile Rounds. For his last piece of gear, on his bond, we have Devouring Depths, we have Perpetuation, and we finally have Elemental Charge. So a pretty self-explanatory build. Wells made him charge with light and he got more damage doing so. Again, a couple of mods like Volatile Flow that could be easily replaced. So do as you guys please. So let's get on to what specific things you can do in this Nightfall to make it somewhat easier for you. So straight away, first room, break the Knight's shield as fast as you can and suppress or blind him, then focus fire on him and pick off the Acolytes after. The Knights are what deal insane amounts of damage here, so we dealt with him quickly. Moving on to the next room, I advise staying up top, keeping the high ground and shooting down. You can move up on the higher platforms to trigger spawns, so you can clear the whole room before dropping down. Keep in mind at the other side of this room, you can easily take out the first champion for heavy with a finisher, and use some rockets to make use of it. In the next big open room, I advise sitting back and clearing all the ads before doing anything. Next, all go for one orb, so all go left or all go right. There's a few things here. First is you can just drop the orb, you aren't restricted to using it, so all three of you can use your weapons. So pick up the orb and drop it just to set off spawns. Before you pick up the orb, let your teammates go on top of this building you see them heading towards now, and repeat the exact same on the other side. When you're dunking the orbs, make sure you're watching out for Cursed Thrall as well. As for crossing the bridge, just make sure you stay back and keep stunning the ogre to prevent it getting down to you, so that you can clear out all the knights. As you can see in the video here, I'm constantly keeping an eye on the ogre, even though I'm trying to help deal with the knights as well, just to keep the stun on him so he doesn't progressively move down. Moving on to the big open room where you have all three plates, you're pretty much doing what you would usually do except staying together. For every plate you will have a barrier. I usually get on the middle plate to trigger initial spawns and clear out the room. Then fully charge the plate and take out the barrier when he spawns. When you get close to the left or right plates, you will then trigger wizard spawns. After that, stepping on the plate will trigger barrier knight spawns, so keep an eye out. Make your way around to the next pathway up to the boss room. Keep in mind you will have this barrier to deal with on your way around. So take your time, make sure to deal with the snipers on the right side, then focus fire the champion and finisher him for heavy if you need it. For this long bridge you have a lot of cover to use. Use it to your advantage and focus on the snipers. Be careful how far you are pushing up, as there is a shrieker at the end. If you watch here, you can go behind this little box and teammates can rocket the shriekers without you being able to even get hit by it. Just watch out for the night shots. If you haven't already taken them out, their bullets are ridiculous. The next challenging part is the lift. Make sure you use the corners where you aren't visible to enemies, because the acolytes will shred your health away. When reaching the top, you will be in the boss room. Upon defeating the 2 solar wizards, the gate will drop and the boss will be released. My advice here is to use the back of the room and take the boss down slowly. If you rush, you're going to get a lot of ads to deal with. Just work on her slowly and take down the ads. Now we did have a slight issue, as my controller decided to run out at the best possible time. So ignore the little bits of audio you're going to hear here, but see for yourself.
Knight's down. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead.
It's lucky that Great Disturbed was using Devouring Depths, to say the least. But yeah, communicate as a team, work on the Knight's Arc Shields, the Wizard's Solar Shields, and look out for champions. When you get a health down by 2 bars, you will have double unstoppable spawning. We had saved the Tether and a Nova Bomb, so we were okay. But make sure you're using cover and stunning champions to hold them back. When you've cleared the ads, finish the boss, and that's the Scarlet Keep Platinum Grandmaster completed. It's that simple. The only thing I have to say is, in that boss room, watch out for the boss's attack. She has a push back and knock back mechanic that launches you in the air, and chances are it's going to send you off the back of the map if you're not watching what you're doing. So keep your eyes out for it. You'll see a big green circle on the floor when she's about to launch. Try and dodge out of it, or find some way where you can land on something so that you don't fall off the map. So what do I overall think of this Grandmaster? It has some challenging parts, as it should. It is a Grandmaster after all. However, in my opinion, this is one of the easiest Grandmasters I've done yet. So if you can, I would advise trying to get this done this week, as it will be one of the simpler ones. But that's it guys, that's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope it helped you out. If it did, of course don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Guardians.
But Hashladoon's presence is no coincidence. The Hive must have grander ambitions for the Pyramid's influences. Return to me. There is much to discuss.